All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We might have some more folks joining us, but that is okay. So, I just want to welcome you all to what we call the ECHO Network. So, it stands for Early Childhood Hoosiers Outdoors. Although the school that we're hearing from today doesn't quite fall in our Hoosier state, but that is okay. They're just a little bit north
We're
of us.
neighbors.
We're neighbors. There we go. And the purpose of this group is just to help support educational practitioners wanting to get their students in any sort of outdoor learning setting. So, this is a group of peers, and it's a space that we do a lot of sharing, learning, and growing together. So, we're really happy that you all are here. And for our little intro today, since we have a nice small group, we can just go around, introduce ourselves a little bit, maybe say our name, where we're from. And then, what is your favorite way to stay cool with kids in the summer? So, do you have a fun activity that you like to help kiddos stay cool in the summer? So I can go ahead and get started. My name is Caitlin Sproles. I'm the Director of Education and Outreach here at Mary Lee, the organization that hosts this network. And my favorite way to stay cool with my son is his water table. And every day we like to add new different things to his water table, and he always has such a fun time. And it's out on the deck, so I don't care if the deck gets wet, but it's just a really fun way for him to stay cool and keeps him occupied for many hours. So, can we start with Megan and then Brooke will be on deck?
All right, my name's Megan. I'm the farm-based education leader at Bauer School Farm, and I love to take all the kids into the gardens to pick raspberries or other produce that's available because it's hydrating, and also they forget about the heat when they're picking and eating things.
Perfect. We'll have Brooke and then Stephanie. Can you be on deck?
Hi, my name is Brooke Larm. I'm from Michigan. I grew up on the Asable River in northern Michigan, but now live in southeast Michigan. So I love taking kids to like the water's edge for mud play. Nothing beats cold mud. I'm making mud patties, mud pies, mud cookies, you name it. So,
Perfect. Thank you. So, Stephanie and then Kelly, can you be on deck for us?
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I also work at Mary Lee as an educator. Um, One way that I like to stay cool with kiddos in the summer is popsicles. I love to sit in the shade and eat popsicles with kiddos.
Sounds delicious and much needed on a day like today with this humidity the way it is. So, we'll have Kelly join us next and then Melissa be on deck.
Hi, I'm Kelly Goodspeed, Director of Early Childhood and Lower School at the Stanley Clark School. We love a good splash pad that is out on our playground all summer long. And my own daughter, she's one, she loves a splash pad. So just a nice way to get some cool water on you in the middle of the summer.
Wow, I think I would need to see some pictures of that thing. Having it on your schoolyard, that looks like fun. So, all right, Melissa and then Foy, if you can be on deck.
Hi, I'm Melissa Witt. I work at Oak Farm Montessori. And my favorite way to get kids cool in the summertime is probably we're teaching kayaking, and my kids have been interested in paddleboarding lately. So that's pretty interesting. And we get wet a lot because you fall in. But so that's been a lot of fun to see.
Wow, that does sound like a lot of fun. Yeah, and then Foy, we will let you wrap it up.
Yeah. Uh, I've run a program that did not have creek access, but like creeks are by far. Uh, I agree with the water's edge being a great place for kids or like in the water. So we resorted to sprinklers, ye old garden sprinklers, irrigation and cooling in one. So that would be my go-to normally.
Perfect. Well, thank you all, and so many great ideas for keeping cool this summer. So, we are really excited today to have Brooke and Megan representing Bowers School Farm in Michigan. And the title of their program is Cultivating Connection. So, how to build community and learning with Bowers School Farm. So I'm really looking forward to this. I was telling them a little bit earlier, I checked out their website and they have so many wonderful programs that they have going on. So I'm really excited to turn it over to them and learn more about what they're doing up north.
All right, thanks for the great introduction, Caitlin. Megan, if you could go to the next slide. Okay, so as mentioned, I'm the, or we're from Bower School Farm, Southeast Michigan, outside of Detroit. I'm the education specialist at both Bower School Farm. It's a 94-acre farm, and Johnson Nature Center, a 40-acre nature center, which I'll speak to you about more in a little bit. But my background, I have an elementary education degree from Michigan State University, an environmental ed uh, minor within that, and then also went to Antioch University, New England, and went through their nature-based early childhood certificate program, which I highly recommend. And then I earned a master's in education from MSU as well. So I did work before I was in this role. I worked for MSU, Michigan State University Extension, as their early childhood coordinator. And I worked for 5 years at Tollgate Farm and Education Center, developing their early childhood programming before I came to Bloomfield Hills Schools and this current role. So I've been in farm-based education for 10 years and then have worked at a nature center now for 5. So it's definitely my passion, outdoor education for all ages. So excited to be here today. I'll turn it over to Megan to introduce herself.
Sorry, excuse my delays of my internet. My current role is the farm-based education leader, and I've been in farm education for 4 years now. But my background is in outdoor and environmental recreation. I went to CMU and really focused in on community education. So my roles before leading into this was outdoor education, recreation in that community setting. So how to get more folks involved with their community, but also in various forms of programming and how to bring everybody together.
Next slide. I think it's Megan's experiencing some delays, so is it going to work? Okay. Yeah, there we go. So Bower School Farm's been owned and operated by Bloomfield Hills Schools since the 60s. So they started out running field trips that many years ago. And still that's the main focus of the programming today. It's been a place for community gathering over the years, although that's been a more heavy focus. The farm up until 2019, 2020 was largely closed to the public for casual visitation. And around that time, we've opened it up. So on a weekly basis, it's opened for the community. As I mentioned, it's 94. I said 94. There's a lot of debate. 93 acres, 94 acres, but right around there. We do have an old oak grove forest, so that's really nice. And Megan will be able to talk to you about that a little bit later. So we do have a pocket of forest, some ponds, of course, your barns, pastures, everything you could imagine, and a nice visitor center where we have some classrooms. So if the next slide, you can see the layout of the site. And so there is a large highway called I-75 that runs alongside the farm. Many of you are like, oh, I'm familiar with I-75, sure. So we have that traffic running there. And so parts of the farmland have been compromised from the construction of that. I forget the year it was constructed, but certainly on that end of the farm, the soil's not so great. So we're had to accommodate where we grow produce and crops with that in mind. So you can see we have you pick rotational fields, livestock pastures. You can see that forested there with a ropes course. Again, you picks everything from pumpkins, raspberries, flowers. We tried out sunflowers, and that was really beautiful last year. And then our buildings all kind of condensed there. We do have a greenhouse and a hoop house. We have multiple barns. We have every animal you can imagine, including cats, peacocks, chickens, horses, cattle, Yeah, throw an animal, we have it. All the traditional farm animals there for hands-on interaction. So yeah, we're an education farm, so we want to ensure all of the animals are comfortable, familiar, and familiar with people, and are not afraid to be around people. And then over to the right side there, you'll see we have another parking area with a visitation area where we have a building we call the FAB, the Farm Activity Building. And so we do some events there, and we have a sledding hill. So we do combine education with recreation and casual visitation. All right, next slide. So our mission is to welcome every learner to discover and wonder about the world around them. We encourage a lifetime of informed choices. So we really want to expose people to the food system, the local food system. We do value equity, and we are positioned near to Pontiac, and close enough to Detroit. So we do serve some schools from there, those areas where access to fresh food can be limited. And even your everyday family doesn't always know quite where certain foods come from, or they experienced, a chicken out to pasture. So there really a lot of for us, a lot of adults ask tons of questions about eggs. Eggs are just a source of curiosity for all ages. And so our coop, as you can see, is really hands-on, invites people in to really see chickens with their nesting boxes, and they can see right where those eggs are harvested from. All right, next one. So just some photos you can breeze through, then and now, past and present, to get a feel for the site. How we do what we do. So now into the programming and the community building. So we are a nonprofit. We, as I mentioned, we're owned by a school district. So we do serve all of our developmental kindergarten through fifth grade students. And then we do work with the middle and high school students in various capacities, everything from art classes coming out for photography. We do some various vet science, very hands-on, embedded high school courses that run year round with a high school teacher who's certified to teach them. And then we have our elementary school visits where each grade comes out to one of the sites, the nature center or the farm, twice per year. The other part to what we do, beyond that general fund, state-funded work to serve our students, is what I call your nonprofit hustle for your worth, the fee-for-service programming. So that is everything we do for the community, from programs, events, our clubs that we have out. Of course, we have a big 4-H club, and then we have different partner organizations that work with us across the site. But really at the core is a sense of belonging and place in connection to agriculture. All right, next one. So the education programming, if you want to. These are our guiding statements. I won't read through them. Of course, the slides will make available and you'll have the recording. But we, as an instructional team 5 years ago, built this philosophy and all of our staff training around these statements. For us, place-based education is what it's all about. So we want to create opportunities to build deep connection with each other, with the land, with the community, and by immersing learners in the natural world. Not only that, but also, as I mentioned, the local food system. So even at our nature center, staff will move over back and forth across the sites, teaching in many contexts. And our first product we harvest, agricultural product we harvest in the year is maple sap, right, to produce maple syrup. So there we have a sugar bush that we produce maple syrup and then sell it in our store over at the farm. And then land heritage, we have a lot of history at our site. So at the farm, I didn't point it out, but we do have a cottage that constructed in the 1800s that was moved to our site, as well as a farmhouse. So both of those are part of, especially in our second grade and fifth grade programming. They're really divided among the strong history lens combined with the science agricultural lens, because agricultural is, right, social by nature and is historical by nature. So we highlight in those programming that technology of the past to technology today. That's really a lot of the social studies standards is the past and the present. And so that's where also inviting in the kids' own stories and knowledges, our knowledge. We love hearing the stories of like, what are you growing with your grandparents? Hearing their stories of, their experiences at farms and like the foods they like to eat, the different food cultures and traditions in their families. We have a really diverse school district and community. And so we're always working to invite those students' knowledge and their stories into our programming. So giving space, so it's not us, talking at the kids, but really learning alongside them. So next slide. So I mentioned place-based education. It's the practice and philosophy that relies on place, lands and waters, people and organizations, history and culture as the starting point. So we've done a lot of work of identifying what is it about our community resources, including this farm and nature center, that make our area unique and that we can then build the education upon. So we want to make sure our kids are really developing the knowledge, the history of the site, the ecological history of the site, in lieu of maybe studying zebras or something. Not that that's not important, but we really want the kids in those early years, in those elementary years, to understand how to identify poison ivy and to understand the patterns of migration, because we want them to become the future stewards of that land. And so they need to have that deep-rooted knowledge of what they're seeing out in the world around them to be able to be positioned to do that. All right, next slide. So what we did on, let's see, this was winter 2021, not long after I had started in this role and Megan had started in hers, forged a really strong relationship with our instructional leaders for science and social studies in the district. And we started mapping out exactly what I said. What are the field trips we're running? Because at the time when I started in and Megan started in, they were what we describe as the 2-hour turn and burn field experiences, not necessarily connected to the curriculum. They were fun, which is great, and they're still fun, but we wanted to embed them and integrate them deeply within the curriculum so that really the kids were seeing these sites as their classrooms, not beyond the walls of their traditional classroom. We're considering these critical learning environments. So that grid there to the right, we started mapping out per grade. We cut and pasted old school the standards for science and social studies, and we wrote in, what are the field trips currently happening and what units through MSU's, Michigan State University, their Create for STEM. They have these units called multiple literacies, project-based learning units. And so it's an open resource, free curriculum already available that focused on science standards. And so we combined that alongside what we know about our places available for learning, including the schoolyards, and started forging a new curriculum, which we've been launching over the last few years. So the MLPBL units, they meet the next generation science standards, they use language literacy and mathematics, and they engage all students in sense making. So even our early learners, DK, our developmental kindergarten students, while not represented here, we've since developed units for them. And then when we think about our nature-based preschool, which we have at our nature center, and I'm the director of that, we can already start flagging like those kids are working towards meeting those standards and are well positioned to be thinking like scientists, which is really, and like citizens. That's at the heart of these units. So it's really thinking skills, design thinking skills, critical thinking skills, scientific thinking skills, all those practices that are at the core of this. All right, next. And so for first grade, one of the units we launch is animal investigations. And so their field trip, the units Let's Get Wild, but the field trip we call animal investigations. We actually hatch chicks within the unit in the classroom, and then the children bring the students bring the chicks on the bus out to the farm, which is neat. And we do this with some other schools in our areas too, beyond our district students. And we also, yeah, just as a way, it's 3 weeks of incubation. There's a lot of opportunity to observe, to document. They're using mathematics, keeping logs of, monitoring changes. And then they get that really fun experience to bring them out and release them into the farm system. And then we invite the families back to visit on the weekend. So then the students are positioned as the experts to show their families around the farm and to try to find their chick. And we're like, oh, it's that one, that one's Peanut Butter Cup right over there. So I'm going to kick it over to Megan. She can highlight some of the different elements of what a field experience would look like for our early learners.
All right, so I just shared, this is still more that farm and animal investigation from their chick hatching. You'll see on the left that there are in-classroom photos. So their incubators, how they're caring for the chicks, learning what their needs are and how to handle such a small being that they helped hatch and bring to life and care for. And then they bring them, as Brooke mentioned, they bring them back to the farm and they really see that and apply that connection of this isn't their standard setting in our classroom. So where do they go? How do farmers take care of them that are the same or different than they did in their classroom, and the life cycle of it? How do they grow up? What do they look like in the different stages? How do we care as they get older? And then how do our animals care for us? So you'll see that they're washing the eggs and what we do with the eggs at the farm, and that goes into the piece of farm store. They also continue their learning of handling, meeting with them. Then we also launch into other birds. So we have our chickens, which are the domestic farm, and then we do bird nest investigation and bird tallies, and they get to design their own bird while they're there, just to start kind of seeing the differences and the similarities of the different types of birds. And again, we invite the kids out. It's so exciting to see the kids, they'll come out and point to that yellow chicken is whatever
Sunshine.
they call it. Yeah. And we had to say, oh yeah, that's totally sunshine. But they still remember that and they keep bringing their families out for different years. And they remember that it was sunshine.
And around this same time, this is a very in-depth first grade unit, right? 8 to 10 weeks. This is part of it. They come out for 4 hours, not just 2, but for the first graders, they come out for 4 hours to have a full day experience. Around the same time, though, we're also working with 1,000 other preschool, those early childhood, students who are coming out just for a one-time visit, but still that opportunity, right? For those preschool teachers, we hear from them, we're studying this in our classroom. This is a really important touch point for that tour experience. There are all sorts of entry points. So really across a school year, we serve, is it 7,000 to 8,000 students from all ages, but it's a lot of pre-K. And we do see some pre-K. We have 2 different schools. They come out seasonally. And what we've developed with those classes is they come out with seasonal investigations. So they come out fall, winter, and spring. And then they're studying over the course of a year, like seasonal change. And how is the farm changing from season to season? How is like my schoolyard changing from season to season? And that's their big, long reaching investigation. So it can look a lot of different ways for our early childhood learners, but certainly We'll highlight some other programming where just small touch point, like ag touch points right in your own schoolyard or right on your back patio of your site. Just growing something small can have a really big impact on kids and the curriculum.
One of the other programs that I just included some photos for is our second grade plants. Watch Us Grow is what we call it, but this is another one that they do classroom curriculum that then they come out and see what that's like on the farm. So you'll see on the left what they're doing in their classrooms, investigating seeds and different fruits and vegetables. And they have a lot of questions. So when they come out, they get to ask those big wonderings and get further hands-on. So you'll see on the right, we have a student here who loved microgreens. So that is a fan favorite of the students, is growing and snipping and taste testing the different microgreens we have. They build secession salad bowls that they not only take back to their classroom, but as a community piece, they build a bowl that we sell in the store, in the farm store. So if they come back with their families, they can show them, and it's labeled like these are plants that were planted and grown with love from our second graders, for people to take home with them. And then we also teach them about the different areas that you can grow in. So you can grow in your classroom, on your windowsill, in our greenhouse, just outside in the soil. And that other bottom photo I love because they weren't growing here, but they were digging for worms, which is just as fun.
Yes.
And then we touch on our community piece, the other side of our education. And with our community is you can't have a community programming without a lot of partners. It takes a lot of people to provide a lot of quality community education. So these are just a few of our partners that we work with whether it's to preserve our historical buildings on our site, the FFA and 4-H clubs that bring in a lot of families to engage in that more hands-on way. So the kids who are working with the animals and the production, our master gardeners who help create our sites and our horticulture gardens to make it grow. So these are just a few, but we do have many more that participate, but only so many on a slideshow. Let's see. So our community programs. So we have a lot of ways we engage our community, events, our outreach programs, our scouts, and just our community programs and classes. And this one here is our events, which is a great way to engage a large number of people. So our community classes have maximums, so there's only so many I can teach in an hour, but when we have our community events, we can engage in different ways and also meet people where they are. So if someone's never heard of our farm before or never been on a farm, it's a great way to bring them in, meet them where they are, and get them interested in learning more and have them come back and support us in different ways. Anything else here, Brooke?
No, that's great. Thanks.
All right, so we do have some outreach programs. We do limit these because it can't replace a true visit to the farm, but we do recognize that some schools might have certain barriers such as transportation, or community centers like our public libraries are some of our outreach programs that we do facilitate. So the ones here, the bottom left, I promise you there is an animal. There's a baby goat in there. Just getting a lot of hugs from a lot of kids. We'll see there's the middle photos from a gymnasium at a school, and the final one is another turkey visit. Those are very popular for us in our fall seasons, mostly at our libraries. And next, we do a lot of scout and event and scout programming. We've always offered for a while now individual scout programs. So scouts can come out to help earn their badges in various ways. But we just recently started a partnership with our local Girl Scout Council to broaden our reach of how many scouts know about our farm and how we can help support them and what they need. So we hosted a winter badge-a-palooza where they got to see all the brand new baby births and interact with all the animals. They did fire building, and we also did a cooking challenge with them. So outdoor cooking and indoor cooking, and it was a lot of fun. And the Nature Center did some as well. I think this winter and fall between the two sites, it was over 500 scouts and parents were here.
Yeah, the sites combined, I think it was 900
Oh,
scouts through the events.
cool. Even better. Let's see. And the other piece of way for us to build community is through our community programs. So these, I would say, started a few years ago. And as that time, it's really built out. We've established what seasons work best and for what age groups, and really bring in those families. So we have our Diverse Learners Day, where families with diverse needs can come and learn how the farm works for their family and how to engage in it in a successful way. And it's one of our popular programs, and she teaches it monthly between, I would say she does it throughout the whole year. We do a lot of family programs. I think our biggest hit is our preschool programs again. That's typically our spring, spring and fall. We see a lot of preschoolers out. And then our popular adult programs tend to be our garden workshops. Or they're out here with their child learning alongside them. Our winter program that's most popular is our winter birth celebration. So seeing the baby animals, learning how their moms care for them and how farmers care for them. You can see here a lot of interaction with the baby animals and bottle feedings. One of our community programs that's at preschool age is our You Mean the Barns and Pasture Pals. So we started this last fall. It used to be farm school, and that we got a little confused with whether or not it was a school when it was just a drop-off or one-time program. So we rebranded the names and started it as a monthly program. So every month has a new theme, and it's You Mean the Barns is for 2 to 3-year-olds, and Pasture Pals are for 3 to 5-year-olds with a caregiver. So they get to bring an adult with them to learn and explore on the farm. And we really break down different categories. This month, we're working on composting and gardens. So they're getting dirty with worms and our composting bins, and we're harvesting things in the garden and taste testing. So we see a lot of families who return every month who are growing their knowledge and growing their comfort level. These kids really grow as they get more comfortable in the space with us. And first, I lost my mouse. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get back to my screen. There we go. There we go. So our community grows here, different ways that our community can grow and learn, and hopefully they'll want to come back and keep learning with us. That's our goal.
And that's what we find, like our students, we see crossover of the same kids from the camps we run in the summer to the early childhood programs to they're coming out for the field trip, then they're coming as a family to fall festival. So you develop those relationships, right? That's the core of community. So we're all about relationships, as I mentioned earlier, to each other, to the land, to the food system, to the animals, to the living things. So yeah, it's the early childhood program. We took some pages over from our nature center where we launched a nature-based preschool 3 years ago now. And with that, we had started it out with a mom and tot. or parent or caregiver or grandparent or whoever. So a caregiver and top program that was really popular, and that turned into a nature-based preschool. And then we launched early childhood programming at the farm. And we see a lot of those same families crossing over to the sites. And so the big goal, right, is just more families spending and children spending time outside to learn. Um, and so it's been fun to see that evolution. And certainly, yeah, early childhood, I think parent community is is demanding it. They need it, they want it. They're looking for places to engage their children in the outdoors, recognizing, technology, it's there. So how do we counter that? And so it's programming like this that we're seeing just such high demand. So that's what we have for slides. So we could open it up, turn it back to you, Caitlin, and answer any
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, thank you both so much. That was a fantastic presentation. I love seeing all the photos. And as you were going through, I was thinking about, yeah, how we do a lot of these same things where we are here at Mary Lee, just in different ways, which is always really fun. So thank you. But yeah, we'll go ahead and
Yeah.
open it up for questions now. So if you can just unmute yourself, you can ask one or both of them a question, and we'll give you some time to do that. And if for some reason you're not able to ask a question in live time, if you want to put it over in the chat, we can also be looking at those.
Well, I'll jump in and ask a question.
Mhm.
Uh, as someone who schedules field trips, my first thought was like, how are you scheduling these field trips that are coming back multiple times a year? Do you have any suggestions or thoughts on that?
Megan, do you want to take that one? That's your.
Well, I think for these groups, we've been working with them for a few years now. So it was building that relationship and understanding of goals first on what they wanted to accomplish with us. And when we do schedule outside of our K through 5, they're the first groups that we do plan to book for. So at this point, because it's been a few years, we have them bookmarked into our calendar. They come around the same time every year. And I'm not sure, Brooke, when did they reach out to us, or was this something that we happened to find them?
They reached out. I think it was sort of they were coming out for the way it started is they were wanting to come out for like a fall visit. And we were like, how about you come out every season? And they were like, yes. And part of it was their own parent demand. And for both of those schools, they had like really heavily manicured outdoor areas, and they wanted the opportunity to just kind of get messy and be in places where they could get messy. So that was it. They were really limited in what they could do on their grounds. And so like having their own animals was not an option. So that this is the way that they were open to coming more frequently.
And what sort of like web platform or program do you all use for your registrations?
Yeah, we use Double Knot,
Oh, okay. Foy and I are
which
going to have
has
a
its
lot of
pros and
questions for
cons.
you. We just
Yeah, and
started using
so
that a little bit ago, and so we're on a steep learning curve, so we might be reaching out.
yeah, it's very steep. Yeah, feel free to reach out. We work so to support what we do, we have our sort of finance person, business office person, and then we have our registrar. We call her our systems manager, Lori. So Lori
Okay.
is the person who knows it inside and out. And
Okay.
she was ready to divorce them. Like about a year or two in, she's like, we are divorcing Double Knot.
Yeah,
And
that's kind of
she
where we're at.
figured
Yeah.
all the research and was looking at different options. But in the end, I think felt like she'd gotten a handle on it. And the problem is the next jump in like software
Yeah.
systems, it's really expensive. We're sort of in that middle range. So
Hmm.
the next leap was beyond what we could really afford. So
Yeah.
she's like, all right, we're just going to figure this out. But yeah, feel free to reach out. We can
Okay.
connect you with Lori.
That would be fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Who else
Yeah.
has some questions for Megan or Brooke?
I'm curious from all of you, like how are you currently like bringing nature or even just growing food into your teaching and into your schools and classrooms?
Yeah, so I can share a little bit about what we do here at Mary Lee. So we do have what we call Mary Lee Teaching Farm. And so kind of the main premise behind that is to support our undergraduate and graduate students that we have here. So we have an undergraduate course that is out here in residence with us for the fall term. And so they do a lot of work with the gardens and raising animals and that sort of thing as well. And then a few years ago, well, I guess it was 2017, we launched a field trip. It used to be kind of like a Pioneer Days field trip, like let's see a blacksmith shop and some of that more social science things. And what we were learning
Yes.
is a lot of students didn't have any food literacy whatsoever. And so we launched what we call Exploring Mary Lee Teaching Farm Field Trip. So that's a field trip that
Mm-hmm.
we only offer in the fall. It's a 4 hour kind of a one-off field trip with us. And at that field trip, they go and visit the garden and they actually get to pick some produce and we cut it up and they get to eat it there in the garden. They visit the animal barn, they visit the compost, they visit normally the orchard or a greenhouse, hoop house, kind of depending on the weather. And we talk about farms as an ecosystem. So, what are the
Yeah.
inputs, the human things there as
Yep.
well? And then with the older kiddos, we try to compare that to natural ecosystems so that they're learning, hey, a farm is very similar to a
Hmm.
forest. Here's their overlap. Here's how they're different, and that sort of thing as well. More recently, we do have a nature preschool on site as well, and they just
Yeah.
last year started going over. Our goal is for them to get over there at least once a quarter, so kind of like you all, more seasonally for the preschoolers just to get over there. Last year, they did some seed starting inside. They got to plant some things. Foy and Stephanie, if you all have some more insights, you also do this as well.
Did you receive with that? You said you shifted to a 4 hour field trip for that.
Yeah,
Did
so
you have
our
any
yeah.
pushback on that? Because that was a shift for a lot of our teachers, especially with our kindergarten
Hmm.
kids. The teachers were like, they can't spend an entire day there. And we're like, they
Yeah.
can.
Yeah,
Do
so since I've been in this like role, so I was a graduate student before I became staff here, and so it's always been a 4 hour field trip on our end of things for school
Okay.
teachers. I know not every school can do that, so we have to be really flexible as it relates to transportation. With the little
Yes.
kiddos, we're learning that they eat lunch at like 10 o'clock, 10:30, so we really
Yep.
have to be like cognizant of when they need to eat or do they need to have a snack during intro and that sort of thing. And with that field trip
Yes.
as well, in the afternoon, we do cider making. So we do have our orchard that's here on site, but the schools bring
Fun.
apples and we have two different cider presses and they take the cider back to the school with them to partake in. And then we also do a game with the students. So students learn like how do we, grow apple trees from seeds? It needs soil, it needs water. We kind of have a relay race game to burn that after lunch energy off, and also have that little bit of an educational component. And I would say that's a field trip that we've continued to evolve over the years. So when I was a graduate student, we used to go around the garden and we would pick up like tomato. Okay, here's a little tomato card. We would add it to the sheet that we carried around and we were making a pizza. And so there's been a lot of iterations of that particular field trip over the years. But it is, I would say, in the fall, probably our second most popular field trip that we do for our community. So.
I love the bring your own apples for pressing idea. That's really
Yeah, it's
fun.
great, but depending on the where you're like, I don't know. In some ways it's nice, some ways it's a little challenging because you have the schools that ask each student to like bring an apple, and so you have all these apples in bags
Okay.
from the grocery store and they have stickers on them, and it's just like
Oh,
sometimes those
wow.
older apples
Okay.
that have been sitting around don't make the best cider, especially when you get like 2 boxes of Red Delicious apples that are left over from the cafeteria.
Oh,
That cider is not
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we really try
Okay.
to, yeah, we send out some contacts for our local orchard that's just right up the road, and they'll deliver apples for like cheaper than any school can buy them. And so we've been trying to work on our schools getting some of those more local apples, make the better
Mhm.
cider. So, yeah, Melissa, do you want to share what you all are doing over at Oak Farm?
That's great. Oops, sorry, you broke up for me.
Oh, you're fine. I was just saying, Melissa, do you want to share any work that you guys are doing over at Oak Farm with your farm-based ed?
Yeah, totally. We're in, I guess, a little bit different situation than the rest of you. Our school is a Montessori school. So the kids have regular classrooms. I guess not regular classrooms, but they have classrooms. And then I, myself, and another co-teacher, we teach outdoor education. So students come to us every day. We get students and our campus, Jenna's the numbers person. She's my co-teacher. She knows the acres that we have, and we've got a farm, and we've got a community garden, and we have a perennial garden. We have a compost, and all the fun stuff. Lots of wooded acres, and all of that. But our students, I primarily work. We have infants through high school on our
Mhm.
campus. So
Okay.
I primarily work with our primary age students, which are 3 to 6 year olds, as well as our lower elementary students that I get with me. And I take them out and we garden sometimes and we go out into the woods sometimes. But they started seeds this year and they watched them start and then we transplanted them to the garden. They're part of the planning process. So especially our upper elementary students, they are going to cook what they're with the food. So they get to decide like what do we want to make with this. So each
Wow.
classroom there are four. So they each will say like one classroom decided they wanted to make pizza. So they had to decide like what do we need to grow to make pizza. So they decided what herbs they should grow,
Mhm.
what vegetables they should grow. Another classroom wants to make salsa. Somebody's making spaghetti. We and Pop Tarts. One classroom has a pastry
Wow.
kit for a teacher. They're making homemade Pop Tarts, so they're growing different fruits and things like that. So lots of creative things that they're going to be cooking, but they needed to grow those things to cook with. And then our younger ones, obviously, we have a tasting garden that I've helped them choose with assistance so that they can go out and snack and taste and experience all sorts of fun things there. All the classrooms compost, so they eat lunch in their classrooms, but they all learn from even the infants from a very young age what goes in our compost. And since we have such a large compost, we even do meat and dairy. Just we
Wow.
don't do. We tell them no paper products, even though because we use our compost in our gardens
Wow.
and so we have huge turnover. We have four giant piles and one small community pile for the students to dump in. And we move that with a tractor to the large piles at the farm. It's big work. The students do a lot of the work. They're involved in all the process, decision making. Like they decided the older students have FFA and they wanted to raise beef cattle. And so we needed to turn one of our plots of land into farmland for those animals. And they were part of that. They went before our school board to say, like, hey, we want to do this. This is what we want to do with this land. And they had to get approval and they approved it. And a new barn is
Wow.
being built for that. And it's pretty cool. It's a cool
That's really
process.
cool. What's the
Yeah.
name of your school?
Oak Farm Montessori.
Oh, okay. Wow. I love the student choice with deciding what they want to make.
Yeah. It really, kids say they don't like stuff. And then, like, all
Yeah.
of a sudden they're like, I grew this with my own 2 hands. And then they like taste it. They're like, "Wow, this like asparagus is actually delicious." Like, and they'll eat it. They like picking it straight out of the garden, and they're eating
Yeah.
it. And
Eating it
it's like,
raw, next thing you know,
yeah,
yeah.
they just think it's fantastic. We also do a Kinder Forest program with
Mhm.
my primary age students, and they do that once a month. Each
Okay.
classroom has it one of the weeks of the month. One of the Fridays is their day, and they do
Yeah,
Kinder Forest with me. So they're outside their whole work cycle.
I love it. Kinder Forest. That's a good name for it.
Yeah, so they learn lower elementary learns flint and steel fire making.
Mhm.
Primary students learn woodworking with usually we got vegetable peelers. We got that from
Yeah.
um, when I went to forest school. I was like, vegetable peelers, that's
Yep.
genius.
Yes, it is genius. We love it,
Yeah,
and they'll
it's
do
so
it
fun.
for hours. It's like so
Oh yes, we
relaxing.
made like we had to come up. I had to come up with more ideas. Like we made
Yeah.
the little stick people, and then I was like, okay, what else can we make? And then we were like we were making animals, and then they sewed clothes in their classroom for their people, and we had a whole thing going on there.
Wow.
That's
How
great.
many kids are in a grade at your school?
Each classroom has 24 students, but there's about 8 in a grade in the classroom, so about 24 per grade.
Okay.
Um, we
That's
try to keep that ratio about even so that because going up, they're 3-year classrooms, so they'll spend 3 years with their same
yes.
two co-teachers.
Wow. Sounds like a magical place. I love it.
Yeah. And
Or
Melissa Foy and I will
Yeah.
be over there tomorrow taking a tour. So, over at
oh,
so
fun.
yeah, we're excited to see your
Fun.
facilities as well. So,
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
it's
Was there
growing
any,
so fast.
yeah. Is there any last minute questions we can ask Megan or Brooke or Megan or Brooke if you have any other questions for us? This is what this network is all about, just to collaborate and share some ideas.
Yeah, I jumped in a call, but curious, like, yeah, what are your current what's the current like goals? Any thoughts to some like larger state level advocacy? Do you have a hand in any of that? Or is it strictly like networking across providers?
Yeah, so we have historically tried to do some advocacy. So we had, I would have to go back and look at my notes. We had a policy maker from NAAEE that came and chatted with our group. We
Would that have been
definitely,
Kit?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Kit, I forget
Yep,
what her last name
Kit,
is.
yep.
Yeah, so she came and chatted
Kit
with our
Harrington, she's
group.
wonderful.
Yeah. And otherwise, yeah, I mean, we have folks that from more than just Indiana that watch these video recordings. We track some of that stuff, so it's really fun. Um,
That is
yeah, I would
fun.
say a lot of our programs are more in their infancy, in the last 5, 10 years, a lot of these programs are starting. We do some really
Okay.
good professional development here. We have a program that we run in the winter time that's about 3 days. Educators come to us, and we do a lot of good collaboration with other local organizations. So we tour a lot of other nature schools, a lot of forest schools as well, just to, yeah, continue that collaboration and learning and growing from one another.
Well, that's great. Yeah, we launched in Michigan something called the Michigan Children in Nature Network last spring. That's through
Hmm.
the Great Lakes Stewardship Initiative. And within that, we have an early childhood focused group. We've been involved in some advocacy. We did launch outdoor nature-based licensing rules in our state in May. So that was really exciting. It was after a year-long effort. Worked a lot with Kit Harrington, Aliza
Hmm.
Year, who's from Washington. So we were happy to see that. So now through the coalition and the network, we're focused now on how do we provide training for providers and
Yeah.
what that looks like. So we're working with
Hmm.
our state licensing agency. We're working with our GSRP folks, and then we're working with the coalition and other different organizations to try to sort out who's going to do what. So we need
Yeah.
everything from risk management, safety
Uh-huh.
to, philosophy. And so through that, we're creating a hub, like at Echo ourselves,
Hmm.
and we'll be able to point to different resources. So, of course, this organization would be one we could likely include,
Yeah.
although not Michigan based. And,
Hmm.
you have folks from different areas.
Yeah,
So the
absolutely.
idea that they'll lift up who's already doing really good work and where
Hmm.
can you jump in, and then where are the gaps and what's needed. So it's
Absolutely. Yeah, and I
exciting.
would encourage you to look at our website too. We have a lot of good resources on our website that some of our
Right?
professors with Goshen College have put together as well. So, yeah, it's
Fantastic. Okay.
yeah,
That's so great. We'll be sure to
perfect.
link to you. And
Yeah,
thanks for having us today. It was really
yeah,
fun getting to know you all. And
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
better together, right? So more
absolutely.
outdoor education for all kids. That's what we're what we
Yeah.
need to focus on.
Yep.
So,
So
well,
perfect. Well,
thank you
as we
so
wrap
much.
up here, I just want to remind at least Melissa, I think you might be the only one still left on here, but our next Echo Network meeting will be in September. So we do every other month. We are still looking for a speaker for that one. So Melissa, I don't know if you have anybody you can voluntold or volunteer somebody that you think's doing a really great job. Otherwise, we will continue putting some feelers out with some folks. So we just have two more meetings left this year, September and November. And Melissa, this might be relevant to you or some folks that are watching our recording. We are going to be hosting a volunteer roundtable again this winter. This is specifically for folks that are coordinating volunteers or involved, have volunteers that come and help at their site. And we hosted one of these a couple of years ago and had really good feedback just because we're all learning. Many of us use volunteers in a variety of ways, and we're all kind of learning as we go. We don't have somebody that's set aside as strictly a volunteer coordinator. So that roundtable will be really good for folks interested in that. And that date is February 6th. And we'll have some more information coming out about that as it gets closer, but just to kind of put it out on your radar. So thank you so much once again, Brooke and Megan, for sharing. And we'll be getting this recording sent out for folks a little bit later this week. So if folks have questions, I'm sure they can find your contact on the website. But thank you so much for joining us, and we will be in touch for sure about Double Knot at least. So
Yeah,
thank
sounds good. We'll look for that.
thank